Hey Raiders, welcome back to another Jerbernicorn video focused on Live Arena. This one will be focused on teams that you can build with champions that were free or pretty close to free. Tune in to the end and I'll show specific comps and specific builds. First we're going to get into damagers. I won't go too in depth, but I'm going to go into some rankings. So getting started, the top 3 damagers I think are Wukong, Ragash, and Rhonda. Wukong has incredible damage if built, 4 damage. Rhonda can counter Marichka and has strong damage, and Ragash can counter Harima and Taurus. In the next tier we have Foley and Fenax, who are the free block revivers, and then there's Supreme Elhain, who can counter Marichka. The next tier has some strong damagers, but they have their counters. Particularly Gala can counter Duchess and Marichka. Staltus can hit really strong, but he cannot really counter Duchess very well. Same with Candrafon, he can't counter Duchess very well. Eric's is kind of a nuisance no matter what the build, but not top tier. And Ramonto can be a very strong nuker, but as he nukes, he loses the ability to put down his block passive skills, so he's not that effective against Marichka. Then there's the niche bombers, and then the next tier are very strong, but not the top tier. So let's take a look now. This is kind of who counters what. So at the top we've got our general nukers. Those are the ones who are kind of at the bottom. Then at the left we have the ones who can counter Duchess pretty well. Like Shamail can really take out Duchess. Yannicka can take out Duchess. Jetney can take out Duchess to a degree. Gala can take out Duchess. Foley can take out Duchess. Supreme Elhain can take out Duchess. Wukong can take out Duchess. A lot of these can take out Duchess. At the bottom we have Candrafon can take out Marichka, but then not so much some other champions. We have Gala, Supreme Elhain, Foley. They can counter Marichka very well. So can Rhonda and Fenax. As you get closer to the center, it's your more all-around people. Like, there you have Helikath and Ragash, along with Rhonda, Wukong, and Fenax. I'd say those are your top builds, and then kind of start working out from there. Supreme Elhain is much stronger than people give her credit for, and Foley is much stronger than people give him credit for. So moving on to support. So I have top tier, I have Goffred, Arbiter, Ultimate Death Knight, Pythion, and Mighty Ukko. I think Goffred is the best. He was a guaranteed champion. He can block incoming damage from killing one person, throw up block damage, and then stun the attacker. Arbiter is amazing. She enables 2 types of teams, speed and bomb speed. Without her, basically, you don't have those teams. UDK, very difficult to deal with if you can't ban him. Pythion and Ukko, very strong. Pythion's a Duchess replacement. Ukko is really disruptive. In the next tier, Elva is really the only Sifu replacement, although she doesn't bring up increased defense. Mithrala makes teams very tanky. Helikath blocks Taurus really well. Ramonto can block the passive skills of almost anybody and buff strip, making bombs great. Urost is a surprisingly excellent protector. And Wukong is a great buff stripper and all-around disruptor like Ukko. The next tier fits into certain roles, and then the backup, Brogni is a great backup for Duchess. And then Rector, Tatura, and White Dreadnought are kind of great if you're desperate. So this kind of plots out how to handle different types of teams, like versus bombs. We have anybody who you might put in a good set of bolster can handle bombs, like Brogni, Emic, obviously Mithrala, anybody who you might build in high resistance. Ultimate Death Knight and Goffred are not particularly effective against bombs. Versus speed, anyone like Eric's, who's tough to kill, Elva, who can be built really tanky, Mithrala, who can be built really tanky, Pythion, Tatura and Rector fit in that. Lydia is excellent, because she blocks revive passively. Ramonto buff strips, so makes it easier to kill them with your damagers. Wukong's great because he can strip and put up block buffs, and then later on he can try and sheep somebody. Versus tanky really just takes a tanky build, and working through the order of who you want to take out. So toward the center you have really the best, which is Pythion, Helikath, UDK, Goffred, Arbiter, Mighty Ukko, and Wukong. So let's take a look at some fights here. This team has Pythion, UDK, and Mighty Ukko. This team was also annoying because they only picked 1 damager, which was Magnar, but if I left in all 4 support, they would have never died, and they still didn't die, as you can see. Banning Marichka seemed like what would have been the way to go, but Mighty Ukko probably would have been so disruptive I wouldn't have got through this fight. This fight ended up lasting 15 minutes before he left. You can see at the very beginning here, as I go on 27 times speed, I almost took out the Pythion once. That was about 3 minutes in, and then I just couldn't get through it. The big thing, though, is that Pythion, UDK, and Mighty Ukko are great together. I'll get more into that later. One hint to outlasting a team that's just built to make you want to quit is that if you are within 30 minutes of the end of Live Arena, they may quit to move on to the next battle. They want you to quit before. This guy waited till the midpoint, and when he saw I would wait till 30 minutes, he took off. This guy does this to everyone. He intentionally does it. Moving on to the next battle. So, this battle, we have Mighty Ukko, UDK, and Pythion, and then 2 top-tier damagers. I probably should not have banned the Rotos because this team destroyed me. First of all, Ukko stole 4 buffs already. Comes in. I'm going to start to do some damage, and it looks like I might be able to break through. But it takes too long, and Harima finishes it. Maybe if they didn't have the top-tier damagers to pair with their 3 replacement-level support, it could have worked out better. But this is a fine example. You're not going to have all replacement level champions when you make it to Gold Live Arena. You're going to have some decent champions. So we got buffs off. Do a little bit of damage here. Take out Mighty Ukko. I've got Harima low, but I know Pythion's going to do a revive. Lost my Necret, so that's troublesome. UDK is just such a pest in this. If I had been able to hit Harima with that A2, I might have been able to get through this fight. But all of those 3 together really make the UDK Mighty Ukko Pythion team just so strong. I consider leaving, but then I think, no, I'll just ride it out. But at this point, he's going to finish me off. I had a valiant effort, but you can't leave those 3 supports in there. Somebody has to be gone. So on to the next battle. This one's a good example of using Pythion. Pythion's great in this situation. He can be high HP and in bolster. I also have Necret in it, so I have 2 bolster stacks. Pythion wakes up and cleanses. Really, this fight was all about Errol and not getting buff stripped off of the Stone Skin 50% chance by Ramontu. And Errol takes out the team. But Pythion also kept that team going. On to the next example here. This team has Ukko, Ramontu, and Helikath. Taking a hard look. But the big thing is, I'm using Elva. I've lost to this guy before. I threw in Elva, and Elva is actually the difference maker off Ramontu's buff strip and block passive skills. Elva comes back and cleanses it. And you just gotta hope Mighty Ukko doesn't take too much. So this was a great team versus team on free replacement level support champions. So he's trying to take out my Necret. Strip buffs. Wukong is just amazing as a damager with some accuracy. And then I just start taking him out. But Elva really made that one happen. If I did not have Elva in that team, that would not have worked out very well. Pythion could have done it too. But Elva worked a little bit better in that role because she's faster. Or I should say, I have a tendency to build her faster myself than I would Pythion. And there's many different ways you can build Elva. People considered Elva overpriced at 20 sacreds. I went for her because I did not think she was overpriced. So on to the next example here. This is a showcase of Goffred, who was a guaranteed champion, versus Georgid. So basically, he is a hard Georgid counter. I got everybody in Stone Skin. He's got almost all of them in Stone Skin. Let's see what happens here. Get a chance to buff up with Sifi, strip some buffs. Georgid's still going to go because he's in Stone Skin. I can work on him, but Georgid's still going to go. Georgid could wipe my team if it weren't for Goffred here. Georgid is an excellent choice for Stoneskin, as is Barrett. Georgid finally gets his turn, and he does not quite finish off the Siphi. Another example here. So they've got Stultus, and I've got Urus the Soul Cage. Urus is a great protector. Stultus is a pretty good damager, but Urus is a real big difference maker here. I've got him built with a little bit of damage. Otherwise, he's a big protector. He's got enough speed. Notice everybody's fine except Wukong, who will come right back. Do a little bit of protection there. Errol tried to finish that kill right there, but couldn't quite get it. He didn't get the buff strip. Wukong's back. And then look at Urost. I have just a little bit of damage built into him. He'll finish off these two. And then it's just all about finishing off Hefrak. Another fight. This one's got almost all replacement champs. Wukong, Stultus, Emic, and Elva. And I thought Emic was the one to get rid of. It probably was Elva. Taking a look, Elva really makes things hard. As your speed lead and as your tanky reviver, she makes things difficult. They've got bolster, so the Elva's built-in bolster. And this guy's running a very fast utility Wukong, so he immediately sheeps my protector. But then I'll take out Wukong. This is a very interesting team. Stultus is built very high damage, and Wukong was built very fast. Wukong was the fastest champion, much like you might do with a warlord. So he treated Wukong like a warlord to get my Necret sheeped and then try and take out the team. Pretty decent strategy. Meanwhile, I'm kind of sitting here like, I don't have to do a lot to take out this team. All I got to do is work on blocking revive on Hefrak. I just got to get my Nithway back. But then he somehow dropped my everybody except Siphi. No worries, I still have Siphi, block revive on Hefrak, but then Stultus counterattacks on a Nithway and kills him, and then all of a sudden Stultus A1s on Siphi, and she's really low. This guy's team of replacement players plus Siphi pretty much just wasted my team. So I've been compiling the list of people using 3 free or obtainable support. An overwhelming number of people rely on Pythion at about 75%. About half are using Pythion with UDK, and then about 25% are using Pythion, UDK, and Ukko together. So it's a pretty strong team people rely on. So looking at teams you can put together here. So Pythion and UDK are a very strong combo mixed with Mighty Ukko. Who can you put in as damagers? Well, Wukong is an excellent damager who will come back. Even though you have a couple of revivers, if Wukong's coming back, you don't have to worry as much about him. You can put in Rhonda. You can switch out Rhonda for, say, a Stultus. You saw the hard-hitting Stultus. You can put in Ragash, who can counter a lot of the harder champions. You can switch out Pythion for Elva. Elva would be an excellent choice to match with Mighty Ukko and UDK. You can swap out UDK and you can go triple reviver, Elva, Pythion, and Mighty Ukko. So looking at some builds here, I have Pythion built pretty tanky, not that great a resist. You kind of have to pick between HP and resist. He's relatively fast at over 250 speed. He's got a couple of reaction accessories. You'll either have those or you won't. Just use what you have. But yeah, he's got bolster. Moving on to Ultimate Death Knight, obviously, this is the everybody build. 2 turns of Stone Skin. Extremely slow. The plus 10 speed is because I have all the Faction Guardians in Undead. Ideally, you want him in reaction accessories so that he can counter Georgid. I don't have it for him. I have one maybe for Siphi, but not for him. Moving on to Mighty Ukko, you want him as tanky as you can get him, but also you really need to focus on speed and accuracy. I was going for the magic number of 300 speed and 400 accuracy, but all I could muster was about 278 speed and 325 accuracy, but at least he'll get the opponent's damagers, hopefully stripped and stunned. Onto Wukong, he's in my best damage build with some accuracy. He's at about 7,000 attack, and he's at about 225 speed, and just under 400 accuracy. I got lucky on the On the chest piece, the Ascendants, so I got accuracy on that one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had him so high in accuracy. Moving on to Rhonda, she's in my best non-accuracy damager set. My best sets are generally Instinct because I bought that one every time it's come out. I just don't have the Lethal and the Savage. Stultus I've got in Stone Skin, so I don't have really much Ignore defense. I was building him for a specific purpose, and I haven't used him much lately. Ragash is in my best defensive nuker set, and I also have a little bit of accuracy. I don't have very good defensive nuker sets, but the accuracy, the intention is so that I can at least put the stun up if I don't kill him. In any case, hope you enjoy the video, hope it helps on putting some teams together, and take care everybody.